The Z Fold 7 versus the Honor Magic V5. Which thin foldable wins? The Z Fold 7 and the Honor Magic V5 are part of a new breed of foldable that push the limits of how thin, light, and powerful a foldable phone can be. Both come with top-tier components, big folding screens, and luxury construction, but each takes a somewhat different approach to the foldable notion. The changes may appear trivial at first sight, but for someone seeking to spend almost $2,000 on a phone, those minute nuances matter. Let's break it down. 1. Design and build. The Z Fold 7 takes its customary book-style design and slims it down even more. Folded, it's only 8.9mm thick, amazingly close to the S25 Ultra's 8.2mm. Unfolded, the Fold 7 is barely 4.2mm, making it the thinnest folding Samsung has ever manufactured. Also, the phone is exceptionally light at 215 grams. There's an aluminum frame, Gorilla Glass Victor's Ceramic 2 on the front and back, and a flexible inside screen covered by a new titanium plate layer. Honor's Magic V5 gets even thinner, at least on paper. The ivory white edition of the foldable measures barely 8.8mm when folded and 4.1mm unfold. This is theoretically thinner than Samsung's Fold 7. However, some color versions of the V5 are significantly thicker at 9.0mm. At 217 grams or 222 grams, depending on finish, it's also a bit heavier. Both phones feel light for their size and come with side-mounted fingerprint sensors, IP certifications for water and dust protection, IP48 for Samsung, IP58/IP59 for Honor, and stylus compatibility. However, Samsung has discontinued S Pen compatibility owing to space restrictions in its smaller body. 2. Displays. Samsung has improved the cover screen to 6.5 inches with a 21:9 aspect ratio, making it appear and feel more like a typical smartphone when folded. The interior display is now a full 8 inches, matching the iPad mini in size. Both displays are AMOLED panels with a 120Hz refresh rate and HDR10+ capability. Honor's Magic V5 flaunts a 6.43-inch cover display and a 7.95-inch inner screen. Both are LTPO OLED with 120Hz refresh rates and feature a substantially greater peak brightness at 5000 nits compared to Samsung's 2600 nits. The Fold 7 also sports a new 10 megapixels ultra-wide camera on the primary screen. It comes in lieu of the under-display pixel cluster featured on prior versions. Of the other side, the fold of the Z Fold 7 is still apparent in certain lighting. Honor seam is no less obvious, although its super armored inner screen may provide superior scratch resistance. 3. Cameras. The Z Fold 7 finally gets the flagship camera treatment. It contains a 200 megapixels primary camera, the same sensor as the S25 Ultra. It's accompanied by a 12 megapixels ultra-wide and a 10 megapixels 3x telephoto lens. Likewise, both the inner and exterior screen sports 10 megapixels cameras. The camera system enables 8K footage and up to 960 frames per second slow motion. Honor doesn't pursue megapixel counts, but instead delivers a more balanced arrangement. The V5 sports a 50 megapixels primary camera, a 50 megapixels ultra-wide, and a 64 megapixels periscope telephoto with 3x optical zoom. It also supports 4K video and incorporates laser focusing. Despite Samsung's 200 megapixel sensor, the Z Fold 7 lacks a periscope lens, possibly owing to the device's tiny size. That restricts optical zoom. Honor, on the other hand, manages to integrate one, giving it a minor advantage in adaptability. 4. Performance and software. Both phones are powered by Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite CPU, with Honor adopting the AB version and Samsung the AC variant. The changes between the two processors are small, although Samsung's version may be somewhat better tuned for heat and performance. Both utilize the same Adreno 830 GPU. Samsung releases the Z Fold 7 with Android 16 and guarantees 7 years of software support. It runs One UI 8, which interfaces tightly with Google's Gemini AI. That includes features like Gemini Live and an enhanced circle to search that works in games and multitasking. Honor releases the V5 with Android 15 under Magic OS 9. It also features circle to search but doesn't yet match Samsung's AI integration or long-term software promises. 5. Battery and charging. Despite its small form, the Z Fold 7 packs a 4,400 mAh battery. Samsung says it can give 24 hours of video playback. Charging rates are rather modest: 25-watt cable, 15-watt wireless, and 4.5-watt reverse. Honor's Magic V5 outpaces it with a significantly bigger 5,820 mAh battery. It offers 66-watt wired charging, 50-watt wireless charging, and 5-watt reverse wired charging. That's a significant step forward, particularly for power users. 6. Pricing and availability. On paper, the Honor Magic V5 has the Galaxy Z Fold 7 beat, but its greatest shortcoming is availability. It won't be accessible in Europe until later this year, when Samsung's foldable has already reached shelves. Plus, Honor handsets aren't officially offered in the US, shutting out a major chunk of the smartphone market from the newest foldable phone advancements. It took Samsung many generations to eventually start getting the hang of foldables, and the Z Fold 7 is definitely its most remarkable incarnation yet. But its $2,000 price tag was already hard to take when the series originally appeared in 2019, and things have only become more pricey in the years after. Knowing that phone makers have the capability to produce better foldables, but they're confined to markets outside the US, makes Samsung's flagship an even difficult sell. It's evident Samsung will have to pick up its game if it wants to continue to be competitive in the foldable environment. 7. Final thoughts. Both the Galaxy Z Fold 7 and the Honor Magic V5 are among the greatest folding phones you can purchase in 2025. This year, Samsung has delivered its most substantial improvement yet to its foldable portfolio since its launch. Meanwhile, Honor focuses on giving superior hardware overall, including a bigger battery and a periscope lens. If you're currently in the Samsung ecosystem or want the longest Android support window possible, the Z Fold 7 makes more sense. But if you're seeking for superior battery life, brighter displays, and a somewhat cheaper pricing, the Honor Magic V5 is hard to dismiss. Next, the Z Fold 7 is a huge step forward for Samsung, but Oppo and Honor are still ahead in the folding competition. Over the past several months, I've fallen in love with the foldables, so much so in fact that I've practically dumped my iPhone in favor of the hybrid smartphone model. This newfound admiration for foldables meant that I was beyond interested to see what Samsung had up its sleeve for Galaxy Unpacked earlier this week, and needless to say, I was ready to part ways with my hard-earned cash for a Z Fold 7. Now, only a few days after the phone's formal launch, I'm left feeling ambivalent about Samsung's new flagship foldable, and I know the reason why. On the one hand, the Z Fold 7 is an extraordinarily large step forward compared to the Z Fold 6, but on the other, there's a giant elephant in the room. The finest Chinese foldable from companies like Oppo and Honor are still objectively superior handsets, at least in terms of hardware. My experience with the Oppo Find N5. Before I go into detail as to why I'm split about getting the Z Fold 7 as my first personal Android device, yes, I've been buying iPhones since 2008. I need to give you a little of context on my experience with foldables. I've been using the Oppo Find N5 for the past couple of months, a fantastic piece of China-made gear that was supplied. However, as a tech writer, I see items I purchased as products I write about in entirely different ways, frequently reverting to my personal gadgets after I turned off my laptop in the evening. In the instance of the foldable Oppo Find N5, I've liked my experience with it so much, and found the hardware to be so inventive, that I've used it as my daily work driver for the past 6 weeks or so. But even then, when I've elected to use the gadget outside of work, and not for review, I still find myself drifting back to my personal iPhone, mostly because I own it, so it seems like it's mine. I truly adore the Oppo Find N5, but if you want to purchase it in the West, you'll need to import one from Singapore. And although I'll continue to use this smartphone until it has to be returned, it will never fully feel like my own. That's why I was really thinking forking out over $2,000 for a Z Fold 7. If you want to purchase a foldable smartphone in the US or the UK, Samsung's brand new Z Fold 7 is currently the best on the market. It boasts better screens than its predecessor, the greatest processor in any Android device, the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy, a terrific camera system, and in my view, most crucially, the finest Android skin out there, One UI 8. In hand, when you compare it to the Z Fold 6 and even other folding smartphones from companies like Google, it's great. In fact, I went to play about with the Fold 7 at my local Samsung store last 2 days, and I was amazed at exactly how wonderful it felt to handle. 215 grams is lighter than my iPhone 16 Pro Max. Samsung's new foldable may seem innovative in the great scope of Samsung gadgets, but Chinese makers nailed the secret a long time ago. The truth is, I'm not looking to buy the Z Fold 7 from the eyes of someone who gets a new smartphone every few years and is only aware of what's available in a bubble controlled by Samsung, Google, and Apple. I love and breathe technology, and no matter how hard I try to explain the Z Fold 7, I can't help but feel frustrated and shortchanged because of what else is out there. Both the Oppo Find N5 and Honor's newest foldable, the Magic V5, are as thin as the Fold 7, if not smaller, and in the case of the Oppo, it has existed for about 6 months. See what I'm getting at? Samsung's new foldable may seem revolutionary in the great scheme of Samsung products and what's easily accessible in Western smartphones, but Chinese makers mastered the formula a long time ago. In fact, Samsung itself solved the secret last year by producing the Z Fold 6 Special Edition, which is quite similar to the Z Fold 7 in terms of features, but again, it was never released outside of Asia. There's one critical area, however, where the Fold 7 falls significantly short compared to other top-tier foldables out there, and that's battery. You see, these premium Chinese foldables utilize battery technology driven by silicon carbon, which enables makers to put big capacity into compact form factors. The innovation is so excellent that the Oppo Find N5 I've been using has a 5600 mAh battery with exceptional 80-watt fast charging. The Honor Magic V5, which is slated to appear in Europe later this year, goes at one step further with over 6000 mAh. Considering how big of a power drain the enormous internal screen of a foldable is, paired with the thinness of these devices, it's simply astounding to have actual 2-day battery life in this form factor. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that it's the largest smartphone advance I've encountered in the previous decade, because it entirely removes battery worry. Knowing that this technology exists, and that it's widely accessible even on phones sold outside of Asia, such the OnePlus 13, I can't help but feel that the 4400 mAh battery in the Z Fold 7 is an insult. Heck, the Z Flip 7 with its small form factor has roughly the same amount. What do you think about this competition between Samsung and Honor? Let us know your opinion in the comments below. For more updates, feel free to check out our channel. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Peace out.